Welcome to week 6 of the challenge. Fa la 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 la. Here we are. That's all I got, seriously. So, welcome into week 6 of the Holiday Hold'em Challenge. I hope you guys are in a great festive mood. And I hope throughout this time you've been learning and applying the things that we have been talking about in order to help you to achieve your goals and to make sure this holiday season didn't put you in a frustrating place. So, this week we have Christmas coming up, and we have a lot of parties. I have a lot of parties. I have 3 in particular, and potentially 2 more, depending on where we're at, to add in for Christmas. And I know that this can be a time of year that is either super joyous and we celebrate, or it could be difficult and challenging, depending on where you're at. But I want you to know that no matter what, throughout the course of this week, you can continue to enjoy yourself, but to stay on track. That's been the whole focus of this journey, is to say we can find this balance in life and be able to enjoy some foods and be able to hang out with friends and enjoy our time, but also to not get sidetracked and way off track. So, we've been talking about our schmecks, how to keep our schmecks in check, and that is your sleep, hydration, mood, energy, cravings, and stress. And this week we're going to talk about cravings and stress because they tend to go together. So one of the things that we talked about with our schmecks is to make sure this is a non-scale way to check in with yourself, to see how you're doing, to get a snapshot of where you're at. And cravings and stress go together. You see, oftentimes, if we find ourselves craving some kind of food, it's usually because we are stressed out, we aren't getting enough sleep, or something's going on. So it's usually a stress-related component. Something's going on with work, something's going on at home. You are really tired because you've been up late working and trying to get stuff finished up because you got projects that need to get done before the end of the year, or whatever the case may be. You find yourself in a position to where you're like, you know what, I'm so tired and I'm frustrated, and so I just need something. You know, I'm really craving something sweet, or I really want something salty. I know for me that if I find myself in a place where I'm craving foods or going over to the pantry and looking in it for something that's not on my plan, oftentimes that means that I'm stressed. It means that I'm tired. It means that I've put in a lot of hours in the beginning of the week, and I get to Thursday and Friday, and my willpower is just gone down the tubes. So if you find yourself craving foods, that may be an indicator that you need to step back and evaluate where you're at and say, what's going on in my life that I really want this thing? Now, I know for some of you, people bring food into the office, or people give you trays of cookies and things at Christmas time as a way to show their affection for you. And they are so well intended. But for a lot of us, we're like, oh man, you could have just said Merry Christmas and given me a high five. But when you look at things that maybe they're on the counter, you know as well as I do that there have been times in your life where you've had cookies on the counter or bags of chips or things that tempt you, and they're sitting there and you're like, I'm good, I don't need it. But there are other times, maybe when you're stressed or when you're tired, and you're like, oh, just give me all the cookies. So as we step back, think of cravings. If you're truly craving something, that is an opportunity to evaluate what's going on with you that you're actually wanting something that's not on your plan. Because a few weeks ago, you said that making sure I didn't gain weight and potentially losing some weight was important to me throughout this holiday season. And if you've gotten yourself to a point where you're craving things, maybe it's time to take a step back and go, where am I stressed? How am I stressed? And what can I do about that to help me to be in a better situation so I'm not craving, or I don't put myself in a scenario where I'm going to cave when there is something presented in front of me. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't have a cookie or you can't have something that you want, because we've talked about some balance. You need to be able to have those things. But we don't want to lose control and go, I'm going to eat all of the cookies instead of one of the cookies. So, cravings is number one. Number two, we're going to talk about stress. Stress goes with this idea of cravings. It goes with this idea that we put ourselves in a scenario often where we are up against it. We're up against time, we're up against deadlines, we're up against obligations and things that we have to do. But we also know that stress can be a good thing for us because it turns procrastination into work. It turns, workouts and stress that we're putting on the body into positive transformations. So there's a balance that we need to find in our stress, because a life that is lived without challenge doesn't create any change. You ultimately don't get to your full potential if you're never challenged. But you also will never reach your full potential if you are challenged so much that you are bogged down. So finding that balance is important. And then also finding what are triggers and what are things that set you off, what stresses push you over the top that will ultimately derail you or take you off of not just your nutritional plan, but off of your path towards success. So checking in often on your stress is huge. And it helps to go back to rewind through all of our schmecks and go, hey, how's my sleep? Am I sleeping well? No. Well, why? Are you stressed at work? Are you stressed at home? Have you taken on too much? Are you stressed because you have to buy presents for multiple people and you have to get them wrapped throughout the course this week and you're like, I don't know when I'm going to do it. When you look at your hydration, are you taking care of yourself? Are you hydrating yourself? How's your mood and how's your energy? If those things are impacted, maybe it's because you're overstressed. If you're craving things, stress is a tough one. And I wish that I could give you a magic pill or a thing to tell you that stress could go away, but stress is a part of life. We need to do a better job of making sure that we manage our stress, manage our expectations, and manage our calendar. I know there are going to be times where we're going to be overloaded, and that's a challenge. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. But we also need to make sure that it doesn't impede who we are and what we want to become. So this week, check in with your cravings, check in with your stress, and see how that's impacting your life. And overall, over this past couple weeks, if you have stayed the same or dropped in weight, congratulations, you're in a great spot. But we want to make sure that we're working to continue to build these habits, because checking in on these things, understanding what your nutrition habits should be, is part of the process of building success. If I'm honest, and I look at someone who actually starts to achieve success in the long term, it's built off of these habits. You see, everybody wants weight loss fast. And weight loss can come fast if we put the habits into place. And by fast, I mean, it's a matter of stringing together 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks plus. When you start to see I start to see the snowball effect of my body starting to work for me and not against me. So I want to encourage you this week. If you're in a good spot, keep moving forward. Take your successes and enjoy them, and make sure you take the habits that are leading you to them. If you're not where you want to be, guess what? Everything can change on one decision. You are one decision away from making a positive change. Make sure, don't get bogged down. Don't get lost in what has happened in the past and, my willpower is not strong enough. You know what? It's about your habits, not about your willpower. It's about making sure that we continue to look ahead, plan out our 168, make sure we know exactly what it is that we're doing, when we're doing it, plan our food around that, protein specific first, then make sure we build our meals around that, and build the habits of making sure we get our workouts in 3 to 4 days a week, moving basically every single day in some way, form, or fashion, and making sure that you continue to employ the habits that will lead you to success. If you have questions about that, please feel free to send me a message. And I mean that. Send me an email, send me a Voxer, shoot something, and say, look, I got an issue, I got a problem, or here's where I'm at. And we can talk about it, because that's what we're here to do. I hope you have a very Merry Christmas this week. And I hope your week is filled with joy above all else. God bless y'all. We'll talk to you soon.